The Orion arm burned. For 300 years, the great empires of the galaxy had maintained an uneasy peace. The Dominion controlled the outer spiral. The Collective owned the dense star clusters near the core. Between them, dozens of smaller civilizations existed in careful neutrality. Then the Dominion wanted more. They always wanted more. Commander stood on the bridge of the Dominion flagship Eternal Conquest and watched another world die. The planet below had been home to the people. They were peaceful creatures. They made beautiful music and created art that other species traveled light years to witness. Now their cities melted under orbital bombardment, felt nothing. The Dominion had conquered 1,000 worlds. One more meant nothing. Commander, his sensor officer called out, "We have completed the cleansing. The civilization is eliminated." Nodded slowly. Set course for the next system, the humans. A strange silence fell over the bridge. Every officer exchanged nervous glances. The humans were different. Everyone knew that. They were a young species from a small blue world called Earth. They had only achieved interstellar travel 2 centuries ago. By galactic standards, they were practically infants, but something about them made even the proudest uncomfortable. "Commander," the navigation officer said carefully, "perhaps we should bypass the human systems. They pose no strategic threat. Their territory is small. Their fleet is minimal." Turned to face the officer with cold eyes. "Are you afraid of primitives?" "No, Commander, but the intelligence reports are strange. We know they have only 47 combat vessels. We know their technology is inferior. Yet every empire that has tested them has suffered unexpected losses." Laughed. It was a harsh sound. "Superstition. The humans are weak. They will fall like all the others." The Dominion fleet jumped to hyperspace. 3,000 warships moved toward Earth space. It was the largest invasion force ever assembled against a single species. Believed it was excessive. He thought 100 ships would be enough. But High Command wanted to send a message. The humans had refused to submit peacefully. They had rejected the Dominion's generous offer of servitude. Now they would learn the cost of defiance. On Earth, the alarms began to sound. Defense Minister Sarah stood in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains and watched the sensor data with calm eyes. 3,000 enemy warships. It was exactly what the models had predicted. They were arrogant. They always attacked with overwhelming force. They believed numbers guaranteed victory. "Minister," General Torres said, "they will arrive in 6 hours. Our defensive fleet is moving to intercept." Sarah nodded. "And the protocol?" Torres hesitated. The protocol. Every human officer knew about it, but few truly understood it. For 200 years, humanity had presented a careful image to the galaxy. They appeared weak. They seemed primitive. Their visible fleet was small and outdated, but that was only what they wanted others to see. "The protocol is ready," Torres said quietly. "All shadow installations have reported in. The fleet is awakened." Sarah closed her eyes for a moment. She remembered her grandmother's stories about the early years of human expansion. How the first explorers had discovered the truth about the galaxy. War was constant. The strong consumed the weak. Every advanced civilization maintained vast military forces. Peace was just the pause between conflicts. The early human leaders had understood immediately. Earth could not compete openly. They did not have the resources or the population of the great empires, so they had chosen a different path. They would appear weak. They would seem harmless. And in the darkness, they would build something that would ensure humanity's survival. The Dominion fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Commander smiled as he surveyed the pathetic human defense. 43 vessels, small, poorly armed. They formed a desperate line near the 4th planet. It was almost sad. "Open a communication channel," commanded. The human commander appeared on screen. She was a young woman with dark hair and steady eyes. She showed no fear, found that irritating. "I am commander of the Dominion. Your species has been judged unworthy of independence. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will make Earth a graveyard." The human commander smiled. It was not the smile of someone facing death. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. "My name is Admiral Maya," she said, "and I have a message for the Dominion. You should have listened to the warnings. You should have wondered why no empire has ever successfully invaded human space. You should have asked yourselves why we seemed so weak, yet still existed." Felt the first hint of uncertainty. "Your words mean nothing. Begin the attack." The Dominion fleet surged forward, their weapons charged. Victory seemed moments away. Then space itself seemed to tear open. Watched in horror as ships began appearing. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. They emerged from hidden positions throughout the solar system. They rose from beneath the surfaces of moons. They in the darkness between planets. They jumped in from locations that should have been empty space. The sensor officer's voice cracked with fear. "Commander, I am reading over 8,000 human warships. Their technology signatures are unknown. They are not matching any profile in our database." The hidden fleet was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. For 2 centuries, humanity had poured their resources into secret shipyards. They had built their vessels in hollowed-out asteroids and hidden bases on the dark sides of moons. They had developed weapons that no other species knew existed. They had waited. Admiral's voice came through the communication channel again. "For 200 years, we have watched your empire spread terror across the galaxy. We have seen you destroy civilizations. We have witnessed your cruelty, and we have prepared." The human fleet moved with perfect coordination. They had trained for this moment across generations. Every captain knew their role. Every crew member understood the stakes. They were not just fighting for Earth. They were fighting for every species the Dominion had crushed. The first wave of human ships engaged the Dominion fleet with weapons that should not have existed. Directed energy weapons that bypassed shields entirely. Missiles that could track their targets through hyperspace jumps. Electronic warfare systems that turned enemy ships against each other. Commander screamed orders that no one could follow. His mighty fleet was being torn apart. Ships that had conquered worlds exploded in moments. The pride of the Dominion burned in the cold void of space. "How is this possible?" demanded. "They were supposed to be weak. Our intelligence said they had no power." His tactical officer was crying. "Commander, we have lost over 1,000 ships in the first engagement. They are targeting our command vessels with precision. They know our fleet structure. They know everything about us." That was the final secret. For 200 years, human agents had infiltrated every major power in the galaxy. They had learned every weakness. They had mapped every fleet. They had prepared for every scenario. The Dominion thought they were hunting primitives. They were walking into a trap that had been set before their great-grandparents were born. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the greatest invasion fleet in Dominion history had been reduced to scattered debris. Commander's flagship drifted without power. He sat in the darkness and listened to the silence. Admiral's face appeared one final time on the emergency communication screen. "You asked why we seemed weak," she said. "It was because we wanted you to underestimate us. Your empire has conquered through intimidation. You never faced an enemy who was smarter than you, who planned further ahead, who was willing to wait centuries for the right moment." Could not respond. His entire understanding of the galaxy had shattered. "Go back to your masters," continued. "Tell them what happened here. Tell them that Earth is not a target. Tell them that the species they dismissed as primitives have been watching and preparing since before your empire existed. And tell them this war is not over. We are coming for every world you have conquered. Every species you have enslaved will be freed. Every crime will be answered." The surviving Dominion ships were allowed to limp away. It was intentional. Humanity wanted witnesses. They wanted the galaxy to know that the balance of power had changed forever. In the following weeks, the news spread across the Orion arm. The impossible had happened. A young species from an insignificant world had defeated the mighty Dominion. More importantly, they had revealed a military force that exceeded anything the galaxy had imagined. The collective immediately sued for peace. The dozens of smaller civilizations that had lived in fear began to hope. The survivors of conquered worlds saw a chance for liberation. On Earth, Sarah stood before the United Human Council and delivered her report. The Shadow Fleet had performed exactly as designed. 2 centuries of deception had paid off. Humanity would no longer hide in the darkness. "We built this fleet to survive," she said. "We pretended to be weak so that no one would destroy us before we were ready, but survival is no longer enough. The galaxy needs to change. The strong cannot be allowed to prey on the weak forever. We did not reveal ourselves just to protect Earth. We revealed ourselves to end an age of conquest." The Council approved the Liberation Initiative unanimously. Human fleets would move across the Orion arm. They would break the chains of the enslaved. They would rebuild the civilizations that had been destroyed. They would create a new order based on cooperation rather than domination. Commander eventually returned to Dominion space. He stood before the High Council and delivered his report. The ancient leaders who had ruled through fear listened in silence. When he finished, the eldest of them spoke. "We dismissed the humans as children playing at civilization. We believed they were too young to matter. We were fools. They were never children. They were predators pretending to be prey. And now they have revealed their true nature." The Dominion prepared for war, but they knew deep in their hearts that something fundamental had changed. For 300 years, they had been the hunters. Now they faced a species that had outthought them across generations. A species that had turned weakness into the ultimate weapon. A species that would not stop until the galaxy was transformed. In the ruins of where beautiful music had once filled the air, human ships arrived with reconstruction crews. They found survivors hiding in deep shelters. They emerged to see alien beings in strange uniforms, offering food and medicine and hope. One elderly approached a human officer. "Why?" she asked. "We have nothing to offer you. Why would you help us?" The officer smiled. "Because we remember what it was like to be small and afraid. Because we know that civilization means protecting each other. Because humanity decided long ago that we would not become what we feared." The galaxy would never be the same. The war continued for another decade, but the outcome was never in doubt. The hidden fleet had been just the beginning. Behind it stood a species that had learned patience across centuries. A species that understood that true strength was not about conquest. It was about having the power to destroy your enemies and choosing to build instead. Earth's children spread across the stars, and wherever they went, they carried a simple message. The age of empires was ending. The age of cooperation was beginning, and humanity would make sure it lasted forever.